Hey everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Homegrown. I'm Stephen Holland with Property Champions Real Estate, and I am joined today by Mr. Chris Warren. He is Director of the Dothan Houston County Library System. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Stephen. Happy to be here.
What can you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
So originally I'm from Warner Robins, Georgia. I grew up there. I attended the University of Georgia in Athens, and my very first library job was with the University of Georgia Libraries. And I will be honest, it was not a good fit for me. I went from there to teaching high school and then discovered that that was not a good fit for me.
That's fine.
But I can remember when I left at UGA, I said to myself, I'm never going to work in a library ever again. And then I discovered that public libraries were a better fit for me. So I started working for the Gwinnett County Public Library as a library associate. I fell in love with the work. I liked the fact that I got to help all kinds of people with all kinds of issues throughout the day. Right. And no day was the same, and that was really rewarding for me personally and professionally. So I got my degree in library science. I went from Gwinnett County to the Chattahoochee Valley Libraries in Columbus. I worked as a branch manager and director of library design for their library system. And then from there, I went to the Auburn Public Library, where I was director for about 8 years. And here I am here in Dothan. I've been here now for a little over a year and a half.
So lots of experience you bring to the position.
Thank you, yes. I'm very proud of the fact that I can say I haven't just worked in management or administration. I've also worked in circulation and reference and youth services and done a lot of the frontline work that you have to do in a library.
Awesome. And what specifically of your skills and background do you think helps you be a director of the library?
Probably the most important skill that I've acquired is just the ability to listen, to not assume that I know everything. I'm very proud of the fact that whenever we are looking at some major change or some new initiative, we really think about how is this going to impact our frontline workers, how is this going to really impact our end users, and really trying to keep people at the center of everything that we do. Books are really important, buildings are really important, but at the end of the day, we're in a people business. Absolutely. And keeping them at the center of our decision-making process is always important. You have to listen. You have to listen to your patrons. You have to listen to your coworkers. You have to listen to your civic leaders and your elected officials to really understand what we can do that's going to make the community a really great place to live, work, learn, and play.
Right. And, as I was telling you, me growing up as a library kid, as I call it, coming and getting bags full of books for, to read over a couple weeks and then come back for more, knowing how important the library was to me as a child, can you tell everybody a little bit about what is the proven impact of a library on its surrounding community?
It's a very broad impact, for one. In terms of children, you've got the public library provides this accessible resource. Anybody can use it to either borrow books and take them home or read books while they're here at the library. And what that does is it really kind of helps create a community that supports literacy and learning, so that children, they're not just learning at home, they're not just learning at school, they've also got this community resource that helps support them. Whether they're just wanting to read for fun or there's something that they're curious about that they want to learn more about, the public library has resources that support that. We've also made a point, especially during National Library Week, to talk about how the library really positively impacts economic development. We have resources that support job seekers at every step in the job search process, whether they're writing a resume from scratch or they're having to navigate the internet to actually apply for a job online. We also have resources for small business owners and entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses like they want to. And then in just a more general sense, public libraries provide this sense of socioeconomic stability for their communities, because once you've put them there, chances are they're not going anywhere. Right. And they provide this desirable civic amenity, as I like to think of it. In addition, we also serve as a catalyst for economic development. We are a very, very busy facility. So we've got people who will come to the library to use the computers or check out a book or attend story time. And then those folks then go to local restaurants or coffee shops or boutiques or shops or whatever and support economic development that way. And so you've got a whole bunch of different benefits that you realize through the public library. And I've seen some studies that various states and organizations have done that show for every dollar invested in a public library, the return on investment is somewhere between $4 and $5.
Wow. Okay. And everybody that is from the area that may have grown up with the Houston Love Memorial Library. Of course, now we have two high-tech, state-of-the-art library locations here in Dothan that replaced the old library. What can you tell us about that and how these two locations have really stepped up on a national level for Dothan?
It's really kind of remarkable because when you think about major cities, you think about places like Charlotte or Chicago, you don't necessarily think about Dothan. Right. And that's not a knock on Dothan, that's just we're a smaller town or a smaller city in southeast Alabama. But 10 years or so ago, when we really started crafting the vision for what public libraries could look like in Dothan, there were a number of civic leaders that really came together, really created this aspirational vision for what public libraries could look like in Dothan and Houston County. And in terms of crafting that vision, in terms of raising the funds to make these facilities possible, it's really remarkable what we were able to accomplish by working together. And I wasn't here at that time, I can't take any credit for that, but seeing what it's done for the library system, what it's done for the community is really, really amazing. And it speaks to what libraries can accomplish, what communities can accomplish when they work together.
Right. And you know, when people think about the library, of course they think of books, they think of everything in a written format. But on the new technology side of things with the internet and social media, how does that come into play with promoting the library?
It gives us some, in terms of social media, that gives us some new ways to engage with patrons. One of the things we've learned is so important to meet people where they are. That means in terms of outreach, we do a lot of stuff where we go out in the community, into the schools, for example, where people already are. But in a digital context, that means you've got people who are already on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. And so the more we can engage with people there, the better job we're doing. One of the things we sort of learned during COVID is the importance of adapting and using that technology to our benefits. So we've moved a lot of our story times, for example, into a digital format online, and we were able to continue that engagement. Right. We are gradually shifting back into in-person programs, but that became a tool that we could use to continue that engagement that we know is so important.
Right, and you've already touched on a few of them, but what are some of the events, activities, or programs that the library offers and provides?
We have a lot. Yeah. If you see everything printed in a list, it's quite a long list.
Right.
I will highlight a few though. We have a number of activities for adults. We have our Crafternoon Tea activity. We have our Paint and Sip with Ashley. We're also gearing up for our summer reading program, which is probably when people think about the library. I think most of us can remember doing something with summer reading as kids. Some places it's called summer reading or vacation reading. Some places it's called the summer reading club. Right. It's a very exclusive club, apparently. But that is, of all the programs, all the initiatives that we do, that's probably one of the most that we know that we can document as truly impactful. You look at every metric, circulation, program attendance, door count, all of those go up during the summer. There's also been a lot of research that shows the benefits of a summer reading program, because you've got kids who learn all through the school year, and then they stop when summer hits. Right. And they've actually shown that kids who spend the summer months reading continue engaging their brains, continue engaging their minds, and continue learning about things that they're curious about or that they're passionate about. Those kids require less time to be caught up once the new school year starts. Right. And the problem is that learning loss is cumulative. So you can get to 5th grade and have lost, say, 2 years of reading skills. Right. And the library, by providing that summer reading program, we're able to engage those minds through the summer months and provide that academic support so that kids go back to school ready to continue learning just as they were when they left off in the spring. We also make a point to say, anybody of any age can participate in the summer reading program. We think it's really important that kids see adults reading. We want to make sure that they know that reading is cool, that reading is something that people do, that you've got this community of readers and learners around you who want to support you in learning and reading and pursuing the things that you're passionate about, learning more.
All right. And you as library director, can you maybe talk us through a day of your your average duties?
Every day is different. For example, this is the only videoed interview I've done for the week. Typically, though, it would involve meeting with our various managers, making sure that if there's any fires to be put out, we've dealt with those. It also involves meeting with our various stakeholders, our civic leaders, making sure that they understand what we're able to do with the investment they've made in the library. So it's kind of a mix of management, administration, and advocacy. I do my best to be a good ambassador for the library to the community, to sort of represent the library and what we're able to make possible, and also make sure people know that we're kind of going back to my previous point, that we're listening. We want to know what we can do to be relevant and to be supportive of what people's needs and priorities are. That's kind of one of the challenges of library work is every community is different. Right. And the suite of services that libraries provide need to be different and need to address what those needs are. Right. So it kind of behooves us to listen as much as possible and really tailor what we're doing to what's most important to residents of Dothan and Houston County.
Right. And you're doing a great job as an ambassador and reaching out. You're definitely engaging with the community by doing interviews such as this.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, and also wanted to ask you, what vision may you have for the future of the library here?
In terms of this library, I feel like we could do a better job of communicating our value and communicating what we do. I've told, when I speak with civic clubs or organizations, a lot of times I will get folks who come up to me later and they'll say, I had no idea that the library blank. Right. Fill in that blank with ebooks or passport application or our library of things or our seed library. I want to see the number of I had no idea buts go down. Right. And I think the more we communicate the variety of services that we offer, the more that we communicate our vision, the more that we communicate what value we bring to the table, the better off we are and the better off the community will be. In a more general sense, I really want to see our library become it is, but I want it to be an even more essential part of the fabric of the community, whether that's continuing to support literacy and learning or continuing to support economic development. The more that we can elevate what we bring to the table, the better off we are, and I think that's just such an important part of my vision for this library going forward.
Right, and for our viewers who are watching that may be interested in getting a library card, what are the steps to take?
Well, as long as you reside in Dothan and Houston County, you are eligible for a library card at no cost. Okay. All you need to do is visit any one of our locations. We'll ask to see, I like to narrow it down to proof of who you are and proof of where you live. So if you've got a driver's license with your correct address on it, or if you've got a driver's license and a bill with your correct address on it, then we'll be able to get you signed up for a library card, no problem.
Okay, so no cost at all?
No cost at all.
All right.
If you reside outside of that service area, there is a $25 annual fee, which, considering the breadth of services that we offer, is a deal.
It's great value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, one question I love to ask librarians, what are you personally reading right now?
I'm reading two books right now. I'm reading The Upswing by Robert Putnam. The Upswing, Robert Putnam wrote the book Bowling Alone that was very popular probably 10 or 15 years ago. But that book was sort of about how we've become increasingly isolated from each other. Even as social media is supposed to bring us closer together, we've sort of actually drifted further apart. He's revisited some of those themes in The Upswing, but it's a little bit about social equality, and it's a really fascinating read. Okay. The other book I'm reading right now is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. It's an older book. I want to say it came out in 2007, but it's a book about why certain ideas, certain stories stick with us and others don't. And it's a really intriguing read from an advocacy perspective, from a marketing perspective. How do you get things to stick when we're communicating about the library? So I'm kind of reading that with a vested interest.
Okay, a couple of very interesting reads there. Anything else that you would like for our viewers or the community to know? If
you don't have a library card, obviously I encourage you to get one.
Definitely get one.
Considering all the different services that we offer, it's a great value. The programs that we make available, the resources that we make available it's pretty astonishing. When you consider, we have a pretty limited budget, but we're able to deliver services and resources, and we're able to innovate in ways that are on par with any of the best library systems in Alabama, if not some of the best libraries in the Southeast. there's the Wiregrass is a great resource in having this library available to them.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time and sharing all that great information with us. We really appreciate all the hard work that y'all do here. Be sure to get your library card if you don't already have one, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for all of the episodes of Homegrown and learn more about living in the Wiregrass area. So until next time, y'all, have a good one.